Hi friends, welcome to my reading roundup. I'm Erin, this is Erin Go Live. A reading roundup is what I've recently finished, what I'm currently reading, and what I plan to read imminently. So let's jump into, so I have just 4 books here. In the middle of moving, not that I need an excuse or anything like that, but in the middle of moving in, remodeling, all that stuff. So my time has been quite limited, but I've read some really good books and I have a really good plan for my next book. So first book I finished recently is Tress of the Emerald Sea by Sanderson. This was one of his secret projects. This was the first book by him that I have read and I loved it. I know that the Cosmere is like his universe where like the Mistborn series takes place. This does take place in the Cosmere. You don't have to have read any of those books. It's just mentioned in passing. Like if you're gonna say, you know, the greatest, I don't know, whatever in the whole wide world, you know, it'd be like the greatest whatever in the Cosmere. There might be some Easter eggs in there if you are a Sanderson connoisseur. I don't know, but I don't think I missed anything in the story. So this is kind of a she saves him situation, and it was fantastic. I was enthralled with this book. I was reading 2 books at the same time and I couldn't like decide which one I wanted to be reading, because when I was in one, I didn't want to put that one down, but I really wanted to read the other book. And then when I was in the other one, I didn't want to put that one down. This one being shorter, I went ahead and powered through and finished this one first. So Tress lives in this world where the ocean, there's these spores everywhere, and when the spores get wet they like grow. So if you were to like ingest them or cry or something, they would like grow inside you and it would kill you. So the whole world in silver like repels it or kills the spores. So you know, all of these sorts of things are treated with silver or coated in silver, and then she ends up leaving this world to go on kind of this quest to go save the boy she's into, and she encounters other types of spores and she becomes a pirate. It's just this fun adventure, and yeah, it was just fantastic. It was really fun is the word I want to say it. And there's also some real like wisdom bits, but also some really funny bits. So hang on a second, let me find a couple for you as an example. Here's one of the wisdom bits. Worry has weight and is an infinitely renewable resource. One might say worries are the only things you can make heavier simply by thinking about them. Okay, and then here's a funny line. But evolution is not a precise mechanism, and it has resulted in a certain number of people in the population with more nerve than neurons. It reminds me a bit of Lemony Snicket, a series of unfortunate events. Yeah, it's just really good. I highly recommend this. It was just a really fun, light adventure story with a little bit of love element in there. Then we have Lonesome Dove by McMurtry. I started this in June for June on the Range. This definitely qualifies for big book summer, and I listened to this primarily on audiobook. I read I think the first 200 pages in print, and this is I think right around 800 pages, something where the page numbers. Yeah, it's over 800 pages, and this is essentially a road trip book on horseback. So we have our main characters, Gus or Augustus and Call. They used to be, they were captains together in, I think in the Mexican-American War. They were rangers, kind of fighting the Indians and on horseback. And now they're just cowboys, right? And this guy comes back, this other cowboy comes back into town, and he's like, we got to go up to Montana and start a ranch. The Indian problem is starting to die off a little bit, and there's nobody up there ranching, and we need to go up there and start a cattle ranch. We're going to be rich. So sets this journey, and we have different characters and storylines that are woven in and out of this storyline. And then kind of at the backbone of this, we have this relationship between kind of a what's the word? Antagonistic relationship actually between Gus and Call. They just know each other so well. They've worked with each other for so long, and they kind of have this unspoken language between them, which allows them to work so well together. So just full of lots of little stories and lots of little character bits in here. It's not so much, I was expecting more kind of action and adventure. It's a little bit more slow, kind of plodding along. It reminds me actually of Lord of the Rings, The Two Towers, where The Two Towers in particular is like a journey. I mean, the whole story is a journey, but in particular, The Two Towers is journeying, these two different parties journeying, and yeah, I loved it. No more to say about that. The audiobook was really good too, and you know, with like the accents and the intonation and everything. And I think it was the Audible. I don't remember I don't know. I never looked up the narrator's name, but the Audible, I can't say it, version was very good. Then we have my current book. So this is the book that I was reading in tandem with Tress and the Emerald Sea, Much Longer, A Little Life by Hanya Yanagihara. I kind of been on the fence about reading this for years. You know, from the moment I knew BookTube was a thing, this book has been part of the conversation. And the only thing I really knew about it is it was about a group of friends, and one in particular, just these horrible things happened to him. You know, I've seen vlogs of people reading this and they're just sobbing. And so, you know, I wasn't sure if this book was going to be for me or not. But I went into Barnes & Noble few weeks ago, and they had a whole bunch of like the buy one get 50% off selections, and this was one of them, and it was just calling to me. So I'm just about 200 pages from the end of this, and there's some really terrible things that happened to Jude. So we have 4 friends, Jude, Willem, Malcolm, and JB, and they met in college, and they've continued their friendship all these years later. And the story really revolves around Jude and his life, and he had a very, very traumatic childhood and continues to have a very difficult life. High points, and he's very professionally successful, but there are these underlying traumas that he has that really affects his whole life, his relationships and all. I haven't cried yet, but based on what I've seen from other people, I imagine that the ending gets even more heavy. But for whatever reason, I'm just so drawn into this story. And I think probably the reason why it hits people so hard is because you are so invested in William and his relationships with these friends. And then the only book that I know I'm going to be reading soon is James by Percival Everett. This is Jim's story from Huckleberry Finn, and I'm going to be buddy reading this with Kim from Middle of the Book March. And as far as I understand, this basically follows, it's the same story as Huckleberry Finn, but it's from Jim's perspective. I haven't read, was it The Trees by Percival Everett that was like so big like last year? I think it was. I think that was a Booker nominee. But yeah, I'm really looking forward to reading this. And I bought this in, there's an area of Sacramento called Oak Park, and there was this coffee shop next to a called Old Soul, really great coffee shop that we used to study at a lot when I was in college. And right next to it is a place called Underground Books, and it's a BIPOC focused bookstore. It's Black owned, and actually the mayor of Sacramento, Kevin Johnson, used to frequent there all the time, and I kind of have a crush on him. So we would see him like pull up in his, you know, black, it was either Suburban or a Tahoe. My friends would be like, "Your boyfriend's here," because he had an office, or I don't know, they had meetings or something above the bookstore. So anyway, the purchase of James has a little bit of sentimentality for me, and I've heard just really glowing reviews of this so far. So these are the books in my life right now. I'd love to know if you've read any of these books. Are you a Sanderson fan? And have you ventured into A Little Life, and what was your experience with it? Thank you for watching. Remember, every day is a great day for a great day, no matter what.